and welcome to Olivia's Catastrophe. I'm Olivia and today I'm here to give you my March wrap-up. So in the month of March I read 20 books and I read one novella which I'm not actually counting in the 20 books, but I'm just going to mention it here in this wrap-up. So let's get right on to talking about the books. First thing that happened in March was there was a Fantasy Favourites readathon which I co-hosted along with some wonderful bloggers, and for that readathon I read The Knife of Never Letting Go trilogy by Patrick Ness, and I just cannot handle it. I rated each and every single one of these books 5 stars, and this series is a new favourite of mine. I can't believe I waited this long to read it. So this series, well, at least the first one, follows Todd. He comes from this futuristic world called Prenticetown, and in this world there are only men, and every single man has his thoughts told out loud. You can hear every single thing that every single person is thinking, and they call it the noise. And of course, if you live in a town, there is a lot of noise all of the time. However, one day Todd goes wandering off into the forest or the wood, and there he finds a girl, which is amazing because there are no girls left in Prenticetown, and as well as this, the girl has no noise. He cannot hear her thoughts. So that's the premise for the first one, and then it just gets better in the second one and gets better in the last one, and you're just like, how does this author do it? The author really has an amazing way with words and themes. The themes in this one is so deep, and even though it's a young adult sci-fi dystopian kind of book, I bet you could sit down and really analyze this one and the writing style and everything. He also writes in the dialect that the characters speak, so there's like a spelling mistakes. I don't know how to explain it unless you read it, so just be prepared for it not to be the conventional English that you know, but it's still very easy to read and understand what they're saying. The setting is so well done, the action is so well done. I absolutely loved Todd, and the secondary characters in this series literally blow my mind. I fell in love with almost everyone. It is just so good. If you follow me on Twitter, I've been shouting about it there, and I'm going to shout about it some more in another video because this whole series needs a video just dedicated to how wonderful it is. All 5 stars, such a brilliant way to start off my month. And then also for the Fantasy Favourites readathon, I managed to read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, which I buddy read with Abby McReads. This one is set in this world where there are 3 Londons: Red London, White London and Grey London, and there used to be a London called Black London, but that one's been shut away and locked off. There are these 2 magicians, I believe they're the last of their kind, called Antari, and they can travel between the Londons. However, everybody else is to stay in their own Londons. But when this stone appears, which is a stone from Black London, which is a place of bad magic, Kel is left to try and get rid of it. This book was a bit of a disappointment to me. Not that it was a bad book. It was okay, but there was a lot of hype around this one, so I expected it to be amazing, but it just wasn't for me. I think that I liked the characters, I liked the plot well enough. It was quite predictable to me, and I just liked things, but I didn't really care. Like, there was some suspense, but I wasn't needing to turn those pages, and yeah, things happened the way I expected them to happen. There was also quite a pattern to how things happened, but I think more people liked this one more than I did. The setting is great though. I love the idea of new Londons and all of that jazz. So after the readathon, I kept on reading, and I buddy read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid with Jade from Jaded Reader. It was great to buddy read with her because she just helped me love this book all the more. I am completely on the bandwagon with everybody's hype, and I gave this book 5 stars. So if you don't know already, this one follows Evelyn Hugo, who is this famous actress, and she hires this very little, not very well-known journalist to be the one to talk about her life and tell her whole life story. However, the journalist doesn't know why she was chosen for this when nobody else has been able to have such an exclusive interview, and it's just very interesting to hear about Evelyn Hugo, as in her life she's had 7 husbands. Now I feel like I could really deep dive into this book because there is so much you can bring up, and I discovered that when I was buddy reading it with Jade and we were discussing everything back and forth. But this one has great LGBT plus rep and discussions, and it also is just so well written. The author knows how to create suspense, even though it's a character-driven book, throw in a plot twist that you did not see coming, and also Evelyn's character that develops is amazing. It's quite feministic. It's quite feminist, and I just loved it. It was such a brilliant reading experience, and I just wanted to keep turning the pages all of the time. Next up, we have a book that I was supposed to read in Blackathon, but I didn't manage to get around to it, so this month instead I finished Pride by Ibi Zoboi, and I really liked it, which was surprising because I don't like Pride and Prejudice, and I haven't read a Pride and Prejudice retelling yet that I've managed to enjoy. Until now. So this one is set in this neighbourhood which is a bit run down, which is a bit ghetto as some people would like to describe it. Yuri lives there with her big family, her sisters and her mom and dad, and she's very proud of her neighbourhood and she loves repping it and she loves the culture there. It's Afro-Latinx culture, by the way. But when Darcy and his family move in across the road, they are kind of gentrifying the neighbourhood because they buy this big mansion and they do it all up and they build it up from the ground, and they clearly do not fit in to the hood and the lifestyle. And from there, it kind of is a Pride and Prejudice remix kind of retelling kind of thing. And I just really liked it. I liked the Afro-Latinx rep. I loved all the descriptions of food. I really liked the themes that were included, like the gentrification and about racism and about classism and things like that. I really enjoyed that, and for once I finally understood the character development of Darcy. Mostly I don't find it believable, but in this one I kind of got where things were coming from. I liked how they updated things. I liked seeing the big family, but the romance, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I was just like, oh, I thought I would enjoy this book for the romance because people enjoy Pride and Prejudice for the romance, but I actually enjoyed it for the themes and the storyline and the representation more than anything else. It was still a very good read and I quite enjoyed this one. Then I listened to Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince by J.K. Rowling. I listened to this on audiobook. I didn't like it. Again, one more book to go and then I'm done. I'm not really going to tell you much about this one because I don't have much to say other than, once again, I sound like a broken record, but Stephen Fry's narration is amazing. This book, nothing happens throughout the book until the end, and then a lot happens, and even though Harry Potter is the main character, he doesn't seem to have much agency in changing anything that happens. Like, he doesn't seem to be able to do much to actually affect the storyline and the plot that's revolving around him, so it seems a bit weird that he is the main character chosen. Yeah, I just don't really care about anything, although I do like Molly Weasley and Professor McGonagall and I wish they were included more in this book. There's plenty of pages, they could have been included more, okay. Then for uni I read There Are More Beautiful Things Than Beyoncé by Morgan Parker. This is a poetry collection and I really did enjoy it. The poems focus on black culture, on feminism, on racism and discrimination and all of that kind of jazz, things about being female, about being black, and about, you know, the modern world and living in this life. I had quite a few favourites. Really good collection, and as someone who struggles with enjoying modern day poems, this one was really good. Then I read Big Bones by Laura Dockrill, and this was sent to me for review by Hotkey Books, so thank you very much. Big Bones follows this main character who is a fat girl, and she doesn't mind being a fat girl, and she loves to eat food, and she's proud of it, and she's happy being herself. Her family accept her, but when she goes to the doctor says she needs to lose weight maybe, and to find out more about why she needs to lose weight she should keep a food diary, and this is her food diary. However, it doesn't quite really read like a food diary. But this one was really bad and then really good. I've never felt so torn in the beginning. For the first half of this book I wanted to rip it into pieces, I wanted to throw the book away because the writing style is so bad. It's so throw in your face, it's so over the top and overdone, and I thought, wow, how did this get published? I hate when I think that, but I couldn't help it. However, the second half of this book, the writing style kind of calms down and becomes really good, and then it unfolds into this really important story about family relationships, and there's quite a complex family dynamic in this one, about loving yourself and your appearance and still being able to love food, and, you know, just some really good like themes of weight and beauty and introversion and thinking about yourself in respect to how other people think about you. However, there's one thing that I didn't like about this book other than the writing style in the beginning, and that was the fact that the main character is all about telling herself that she doesn't want other people to judge her based on her appearance. She doesn't want people to think, oh, she's a fat girl, and then think these certain stereotypes about her. However, when she decides that she's going to try out the gym and she goes to the desk, she sees this thin, fit woman at the reception, and immediately she's thinking bad thoughts about that woman based on the fact that she's working in a gym and thin, and it just seems like such a double standard. It just bothers me that you have that sometimes in these books. But I kind of had mixed feelings, and I'm going to do a full review of this one on my blog. Then I read Refuge for Masterminds by Catherine Baldwin. This is the third one in a series, and this series, I'll tell you about the first book, follows these girls who go to this peculiar school. People think that when they send their daughters to this school, they're sending to a prison where they're going to be ironed out and be returned to them in these, you know, girls who adhere to society, because all of these girls are girls that stand out and are peculiar in some way, so they get sent to this school by their parents or relatives. However, this school is actually a school to make these teenage girls into spies to work for the Crown of England, and as well as that, they also learn how to blend in with society as well. So all of these girls have different talents. For example, one of them is really interested in science. Oh, by the way, it's set in like the 1800s England, which is why a girl interested in science is sent to such a school. One of them has very weird dreams which seem to tell the future, and one of them is just basically a genius, and lots of different reasons. This one has been my favourite one in the series so far. There's always a romance, so it's like historical, it's alternate historical fiction, romance, action, and I think the author blends those three genres very, very well. This one, the romance was so good. It kind of was like enemies to lovers, but not really enemies to lovers. It was more like dislike to lovers, and the banter that they had was so cute and so funny. I was smiling when I was reading this book, I was laughing when I was reading this book. The action in this one is actually really good as well, and it was really believable, and I was like, ooh, these are quite high stakes, and I'm enjoying this. And of course the setting and the female friendships are really well done. In this one, the theme of trust and the theme of love is really important, but not love just in the relationship sense, but in the sense of family and why people are lovable or not lovable. Okay, let's take a break from me holding up physical books to talk about some of the ebooks that I read. So the first one I want to mention is Notes on a Nervous Planet by Matt Haig, and I feel a bit mixed about this one. Like, it was very, very good, and it's a non-fiction book where he talks about the technology and how technology is affecting our mental health, and just, it was really good. He really explained things clearly, and he also gives suggestions for things to do to help improve your mental health or your relationship with technology, and he's talking from his own personal experiences, and sometimes he throws in like poems and he does things creatively, which I really did like. However, for a book that kind of is about combating anxiety that's related to technology, it felt very anxiety inducing to read this book. Like, I don't have anxiety, but reading this book, it made me feel really anxious and tense. However, by the time you get to the end of the book, you feel really calm and serene and like you're ready to take on the world. So reading this book felt like having an anxiety attack and then having the freedom of, you know, no anxiety at the end, which is just a bit like, do I recommend this to people who have anxiety because of technology, or will this reading experience not be enjoyable for them? So I kind of have a mixed feeling about this one, but I do think it's really worthwhile reading. It's changed my relationship with technology a bit. Then I should have read this in Blackthorn as well. I read American Dreamer by Adriana Herrera, which is this romance set in America where this Afro-Latinx man is going to start having a food truck in this smaller town in America, and he is really focused on his small business coming off the ground. However, he meets Jude, who is this like brilliant American person who's quite interested in the Afro-Caribbean culture, and they kind of have a romance going on. I thought this book was really good. I really enjoyed the MM relationship. I really did enjoy the yeah, how the romance unfolded. I like that you didn't just see a build up to the romance, but they actually get into the relationship, and you get to see them go over some of the struggles that they have in the relationship. And it also does a very good job of mentioning lightly some themes of discrimination, growing a small business, and some other really important themes like friendship and religious homophobia. But however, at the same time, it's not about those struggles, it's about the romance clearly. So if you want a book where you see black characters being happy, then that's nice. Also, I liked that actually he didn't describe himself as black, he described himself as brown because he's Latinx, and I kind of like that distinction. It just felt like, I liked it. The only thing I didn't like were the explicit scenes, which is weird because usually I like the explicit scenes, but in this one, personal preference, they just didn't really work for me. Then let's talk about the two Shakespeare plays that I read for uni. The first one was The Tempest, which is about this king and his daughter who are stuck on this island, and then these other people end up on this island and they're the ones that entrapped them there, so they kind of set on doing this revenge, and it's all really weird, and I just didn't like it. It didn't really feel like very good Shakespeare. The beginning was quite expositional, and then I didn't really care about what was happening. There was insta-love, and it was all a bit just not my type of thing. It was quite a short play in comparison to some of his others, but yeah, I feel like Shakespeare has better, although the writing was still really beautiful. Then I read The Winter's Tale by Shakespeare, and again, this is another one that's a bit weird, but it worked and I really enjoyed it. So it's about this king who is convinced that his wife is cheating on him with his best friend, so then he kind of like throws a tantrum and he imprisons his wife, and things go down from there, and then these like shepherds are involved, and it just turns into this whole drama. It was funny at some times, it was sweet, it had this really nice ending. I don't really know how to describe this play, but I just really enjoyed it, and I don't usually enjoy the weird and wacky ones like this. And the writing is once again beautiful. Come on, it's Shakespeare. I listened to the audiobook Killer by Nature by Jen Smith, and this one felt like listening to a TV show because it was a like investigative thriller murder mystery, and it has a full cast, and it felt so British to hear all these British accents, and it was really good actually. I just enjoyed listening to it because it just felt like listening to a TV show, but I didn't think the mystery was that engaging, I didn't think the mystery was that amazing, but it was just so much fun to listen to that I was enjoying it. Next up, I read Rise of the Dawn Star by Farah Ubahoy. This is the second book in a fantasy series, and both of these books have just been okay. It's quite stereotypical fantasy all the way through. She's a chosen one, there's this villain in this fantasy world, Fae are involved in her training, she's half mage, half Fae, and she needs to learn how to master her powers. She comes across these different evil things like demons, like werewolves, they have to fight them, and she has to work up to fighting the queen, etc, etc. You get it, it's kind of got all the usual things. There's nothing really unique in this one. We see the same kind of chosen one story, marriage, politics, battles that you always see, and the writing isn't spectacular, but it's a decent enough read. And I read two mysteries by Nagoe Marsh, by Nio Marsh. So the first one was Death at the Dancing Footman. I rated this 5 stars. It was a brilliant murder mystery. It was so great. If you like And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, you should definitely read this one because it's got that kind of vibes. So this one is set in this isolated house where all these dinner guests are invited to a dinner party, and the person who invited them all is going to be there too. However, it snows very heavily and all of the guests have to kind of stay in the house, but the person knows that all of these guests have problems with each other. None of them like each other because of problems that they've had in the past, which all kind of interlink. So when one of them dies, they all have motivations for having killed said person. It takes a while for the person to die, but because there's so much drama because of all their entangled relationships before the death, I didn't even mind that it took a while, and even then I didn't guess who did it, how they did it, and it was just so great. It was legit so much drama and I was here for it, and the murder mystery was really well done. Nio Marsh does very good writing and I was so satisfied with that mystery. So then, because I had to read the first 2 in this bind up for uni, I decided to read the last one just for like the lols because I enjoyed the first 2, and that was Colour Scheme by Nio Marsh, and this was the most disappointing one of my bind up because I enjoyed it the least. It's set in New Zealand, so it's nice to have a different setting for a murder mystery, and again it takes a while for the person to die. However, I didn't care about the fact that it took a while, and I also knew who was going to die, so it was just like waiting for it to happen. I also guessed who had done it before we got there, so it was a bit like predictable, and it was good to have some native representation because there are natives on the island. However, they're not that big of a point of the plot. This one just felt a bit boring and I didn't like any of the characters, so that was it. Oh, also there's one female character that's eligible and everybody kind of throws themselves at her and they treat her really badly, like a child, and none of the romances felt believable in this one, so that's that. The last 2 books, thanks for holding on with me. So we've got She Bakes the Cakes by Samantha Rose. This is an indie published book and it was really good. Don't let the cover and the She Bakes the Cakes title fool you. This is a dark thriller kind of book, and it's about this self-sufficient town which is isolated from the rest of the world. Nobody's allowed in. However, on the release day there was some drama that went down and journalists are like, ooh, why was this person acting this way? And when this one journalist is finally permitted into this town to do an interview with the owner, she finds that not everything is as perfect as it might seem on the cover, and there's something dark going on in this town. I thought it was really good. I was able to predict one plot twist, but there were some other, mysteries and plot things that needed to be unpacked, so I didn't mind that I guessed like one of them. And yeah, I didn't feel very close to the characters, but I did like them all. It's definitely a more plot driven book, but the plot is really good and I was very happy reading this one. I read it all in a day as well. That's how good it was. Oh yeah, I also read The Ask and the Answer in a day. It was very addictive. And the last book I'm going to mention is The Influential Author by Gregory V. Deal. This is a non-fiction textbook kind of thing about how to write, sell and publish self-published fiction that matters. I don't plan on self-publishing, but I still wanted to read this one because there's some writing advice in it. I thought this was a very good book. As somebody who has been a blogger for a couple of years, and when I first started blogging, I read a lot of self-published books and indie books, and I read a lot of good ones, but I read a lot of bad ones, and I think a lot of those books and those authors could have benefited from reading this first. You don't have to read it cover to cover like I did, because it's quite a textbook kind of read, so you could jump in, get what you need and jump back out and refer to it and things like that. So that's how you should really read this one, not like I did. But even reading it like I did, I enjoyed it, and I think it could be useful to a lot of self-published authors to read this before they self-publish. There you have it. Those are the 20 books that I read in the month of March. Please let me know in the comment section down below if you have read any of these, if you plan to, or what was your favourite read of March. Apologies for the blocked nose. If I sound a bit off, I am still quite ill, but I'm recovering. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see more. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.